All financial support for this podcast comes from my patrons on patreon.com. If you'd like to join in with the patrons, please check out patreon.com/DarwinGrosse. That's DarwinGrosse. Now enjoy the podcast. Okay, so I am in downtown Minneapolis today, visiting a local kind of celebrity, electronic arts and music celebrity. His name's Eric Fox. He's the head of Foxtone, Black Market Music.
Black Market Modular.
Black Market Modular. And Buchla USA? What is the actual name of the company?
Well, it's great to be here, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
welcome.
Hi.
Right. Sorry.
Buchla USA is the technical legal name,
right.
But I mean, we use Buchla and Associates, but we do still sometimes use that. It's on a lot of our products.
Okay.
But Buchla is just the shorthand.
Yeah.
You know.
So, man, you got your fingers in a lot of stuff that people are interested in. So, congratulations on that. Let's start off talking about a couple of things that just have been in news lately. So, first of all, you teamed up with Tiptop to be bringing some Buchla to this was announced, I think, at Superbooth, right?
Yeah.
So you're teaming up with Tiptop on bringing Buchla to Euro?
You're the first person, the first official, media type person to bring it up, actually, to me directly.
Nice.
Because we've let Tiptop is the lead on it. So, it's so I wasn't part of necessarily those interviews and everything. But yeah, I had dabbled a couple of years ago, so I took over Buchla in 2018, and we knew we wanted to introduce some products to maybe an audience that didn't have access, a lot of people have never seen a real Buchla system before.
Right.
Just because of cost or rare, and it's kind of a unique club to belong to. I knew I wanted to introduce people to it, and we had already had partnerships in the software side with Softtube and Arturia, and then more recently Sensel, although that's not really software for this. But there was always people, interested in the Eurorack format because it just has a different audience, and we would witness some people kind of heavily borrowing some of classic Buchla designs, and we thought it just kind of made sense for us to help take that to the next level. And I dabbled in it a little bit, and we did one run of a Eurorack version, but that was in the 100 series, and then I quickly learned it's not what we do in-house. This is not our thing. We're Buchla. We do this high-end stuff, and it's just a different level of production, and it's just a different audience for us. But I had known from my background through retail, with Tiptop and lots of Eurorack manufacturers, it really made sense to partner with somebody that could do it better than we could. And Gur and I that's the head of Tiptop, the founder and main person behind Tiptop Audio. He was talking to me about it, and I was like, boy, I think that was a good idea. They're good at manufacturing in those quantities and making a good bang for the buck. It's hard value-wise to argue with what Tiptop offers. And it just really made sense to me. And I don't look at it as taking away anything from what we do at under Buchla and Associates level products.
Right.
This is a different audience, but it's going to introduce a lot of people to the 200 series concept, which really is the heart and soul, of our approach. Really what made Buchla was when it hit 200 series in the 70s.
Yep.
And I do think, this was a great way to really let people, get a good sense of, okay, this is the Buchla approach. It's not quite, I'm not going to call it apples to apples. It's not the exact same experience. That's using all 3.5 millimeter cables, where certainly we're switched between a 3.58 millimeter tiny cable and banana jacks, and ours is much larger knobs and the scaling's bigger. And our focus, our flagship is 200E, which is the next level of stuff, with preset management.
Right.
So I don't really look at them as competing. Yeah. They're just, it's just a different market, but it's a market that's been screaming for something official. We have a say in it. We do consult and we do work with Tiptop, so there is a good partnership there. But as far as the production and getting it out into the wild, Tiptop is in charge of that.
That's great, but that also makes a lot of sense because, man, if there's anybody that has got that is doing like super clean manufacturing and distribution, it's them. They seem to really have their ducks in a row, so I think that's a great choice of a partnership. Now, I'm curious, Buchla makes the classic 4U 200E series stuff. What does Black Market Modular do?
So to quick show how I separate the two. So Foxtone was my retail.
Okay.
We started back in 2005. I'll, expedite the timeline here, but it started out guitar lessons, band rental. I did all of that. And then by 2010, I started carrying synthesizers, adding that to my lineup. Mm-hmm. And then, mainstream stuff. So at the time called Dave Smith, now Sequential, Moog, and I would do Bleep Labs, which did like these weird circuit bent stuff out of Austin, Texas. And then I started discovering Eurorack, and it really had reminded me of where guitar pedals were a decade earlier, around the boutique guitar world.
Right.
And I was like, there's something here. And I was like, I get it. Like, this is like putting together a pedal board, and these are people making stuff in their houses. And I just was smitten by this Eurorack stuff. And so I started, as one of the first shops to come on board and start carrying this stuff and offering it. And as I would see synthesizer sales increase, I would see guitar sales just stay stagnant. And it was always hustling. There's a million guitar shops, but no one's doing what I'm doing. Definitely not in Minneapolis, and barely in the US, if not the world. So I'm like, well, screw it. When I'm out of Stratocasters, let me buy more synths. So I started investing in these brands, but I loved the community so much. All these makers were so small. And then I started getting into, you need help. I'm dealing with Eurorack guys that are brilliant, but they don't know how to send their stuff to other stores or market it or anything. And so that's when I kind of started doing behind the scenes distribution, wholesale distribution.
Got it, right.
And at first I did it under the name Foxtone. It was just, but then as new stores started to pop up, that felt kind of weird. So I wanted to start a new brand, and I just called it Black Market, which is Black Market Modular or just Black Market Distribution. And then that was my behind the scenes side. Okay. So that's where that came about. And then I started making some cables, and then partnering with William Matthewson from WMD would really help me. He would do production for me and then help adapt. I partnered with ZVEX to head that up, the Fuzz Factory, and then the Lo-Fi Junkie. And with William Mathewson's help, doing production and engineer work with me, I was able to start some of my own products. And then I would start distributing other brands, and we really grown quite a bit. So I really had Foxtone and then Black Market. And then Foxtone, I started once my son was born in 2015, my boy Barrett. I wanted to just limit my life. I didn't want to do round-the-clock retail. It was just taking its toll on me.
It's brutal, yeah.
I had been in retail since 2000. I started out in California at Music Around and Guitar Center out there, and then I started my company in 2005 and out here. And I just, 15 years of that, was kind of, I just wanted to go home at the end of the day and be a dad and a husband. Right. And have my weekends. And behind the scenes wholesale and distribution really allowed me to do that. And I did start to see the market, definitely 2016, 2017. There's now a lot of competition for the retail world of synths that I had already been doing for 6 or 7 years. And I was like, you know what, let's make them my customer and let me make sure I can help other brands. Then I started reaching international. So I'm, partners with Dreadbox. I'm in charge of North America for that. And then I brought in Polyend, who I'm not in charge of anymore. But, because...
help them get their...
Get their foot in the door. And I'm certainly great friends with them still. And we still use the same sales reps. I pass them off for distribution to my sales reps. But, I'm really proud to be part of, these behind the scenes things. And then now my wife kind of handles that. That's her day to day. I consult and I do strategies for Dreadbox and stuff for the American market. But, when I decided to phase out a lot of Foxtone, other than the brands, the only things we were going to keep were the brands I was in charge of and Buchla. Because Foxtone was a big Buchla dealer. Yeah. And
one of the few. Right.
Yeah, in the world. And I was really proud of that. So we were just keeping my brands for Black Market distribution and Buchla. And that's all I was going to keep. And that was before I had the opportunity to be a part of officially Buchla. Right. So I had already known that I was in deep with Buchla. And we were doing so well with them that I was like, okay, well, we'll keep Polyend and Dreadbox and Black Market and Zvex and I don't remember what other brands I might have had at the time, and Buchla. And that was just going to be the Foxtone thing. And then started phasing out Foxtone even more once Buchla came on board.
So at this point, are you still retailing it all through Foxtone, or
right now? Yeah. So it's actually coming back. So my guy Wes, I had a guy who's worked for me for like 5 years. He just left last year to go work out at a big shop out west. He moved out to Burbank.
Okay.
That was really when we stopped doing the Foxtone thing for the last year, in mid-pandemic.
Mid-pandemic didn't help, right. Yeah.
But now, actually, we're bringing that back now that my wife is taking over that side. Okay. So, and that will be, we'll have a handful of brands, but we're not really big on the Eurorack, more focused on standard synthesizers, a little bit of Eurorack stuff that I deal with. But she'll be handling that day to day. She quit her corporate job after 2 decades in the corporate world. She left in this last spring to take over Black Market side of things, and then now she'll Foxtone's not going to be the force that it was trying to be. I still, our day-to-day really is enjoying behind-the-scenes stuff and, let the other retailers really be our customers.
Right. So you're sort of like this enabler because you've gotten involved in a lot of things, in a lot of cases just helping people get started and letting them run. You're a sort of like an entrepreneur in starting businesses and like strategically maneuvering amongst that. Frankly, you have no choice. As now the owner of Buchla, you are in the middle of history making as well because of the status that Buchla holds in the electronic music industry world.
No pressure.
No pressure, right.
Jeez.
But where do you come from? What is your background that puts you in a position to sort of like have all of this stuff in your basket? I mean, growing up, what...
I grew up in southern Minnesota in a very small town of about 450 people. Very small town, lots of lakes,
Lots of fishermen.
lots of fishing,
You and fishermen.
lots of hunting.
Yeah, right.
I absolutely grew up hunting and fishing and skiing and jet skiing and kneeboarding and swimming. That's what we did. I grew up in a small hobby farm. Parents split up when I was like 8, so ended up having a single mom with food stamps, and really grew up poor and was familiar with the struggle, and then really got into started playing drums and guitar when I was 9 for school band, so I was always in school band, and then guitar I picked up when I was like 13.
Okay.
And I was always the guy, there weren't a lot of people to pick from, so who could maybe play an instrument? Well, I own the drum set, I own the PA, I own the guitar, and my mom, she was amazing and really sacrificed a lot to get me to guitar lessons. She'd make sure I had access to music, and because it's just the only thing that drove me once I hit my early teens.
Sure.
Hunting and fishing didn't connect with me as much as it did with my older brother, because my father, who's certainly in our life, but didn't. No, sorry, Dad, but he didn't sacrifice like my mom did. Right. By my senior year, I dropped out of high school, but I always had some kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. I was always buying guitars and selling them off, and like, oh, maybe I like this, maybe I don't. And I really just didn't have much of a sense of self-worth. I wasn't book smart. I never studied. Like, I always knew I thought I was clever. Like, I don't think my teachers or anything, like, doubted that I was okay, like I was smart, but I could never commit enough to finish homework and study properly for tests.
Sure.
And everything. And then by the time I was 14, 15, starting my own band. So I was in hardcore and punk rock. I loved heavy metal in the early 90s, but I was not as talented as the guys in Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer and Anthrax.
Yeah, real shred time.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I worshiped them, but I wasn't that. So, but then you kind of get into this thing called punk rock, and you're like, oh, I don't have to be great. Part of it is the feeling, like, can I express myself to some extent, and can we put together 3 or 4 chord progressions, and at least, and I think I became a pretty solid guitarist, not a lead shredder, but I felt I was a good guitarist. That's what I really gravitated towards.
Got it.
And then in 2000, I moved out to California to do band stuff, and I actually joined a semi-successful regional band.
Let me stop you there. Did you go out there with a plan, or did you just go out there knowing that was where you probably had to be?
The latter.
Oh, okay.
I knew I had met some friends because being the entrepreneur and stuff, and I certainly brushed right past this. I had booked some shows and stuff in Minnesota for like touring bands. So
okay.
I would end up being this teenager. So I'm playing in hardcore bands out here and like getting more successful. But I was always a guy who was just networking and meeting everybody and hanging out with engineers and being fascinated by production and stuff. And I interned at Pachyderm. Pachyderm Studios is where Nirvana, you know, In Utero was recorded and all the greatest 90s, you know, music, and, you know, and I had no idea why I was there, but I just always wanted to be a fly on the wall around people like that. And then people like Zach Vex, before he was popular in pedals, was a producer and an engineer up here in the cities. So like he would record our bands and I would just ask questions. I'm sure I was annoying, but somehow I was able to connect with these people enough where they're like, yeah, he's kind of annoying, but he also gets it at the same time. Like, he's this annoying kid, but annoying in the right way. So that I would just, hey, can I come just help out? Can I wrap up cables? Can I do anything? Working for free. And then moving out to California, meeting some bands that I would book shows for, like in the hardcore scene. I was like, well, let me just go out there. And I broke up, you know, my girlfriend and I at the time had broken up, and I was just like, you know what, time for a change of scenery. Ended up out there and working at Guitar Center and stuff, and because that's what you do. But they let me get away with a lot of stuff because my band was doing okay. We'd go away for long weekends. It was pretty unheard of for Guitar Center to let their employees, I just get away with a lot of things somehow. And
well, that's a good skill, man.
And then, coming back to Minnesota in 2004 after the band breaks up, you know, but we had regional success and some publishing and everything, and just I did lots of recording engineering and playing. It was great. And then coming back here to start Foxtone again, which resembles nothing like it became by 2012. I started treating my shop and everything like a band. Is a punk rock band, is a hardcore band. And I just continue that nonstop this whole time, where it's okay. I don't come from a corporate background. Everything I've done is pretty much gut instinct.
Right, but to start Foxtone, I mean, just to play I had the experience of working with Nova Music when it was first starting out. Back in the day, they were a synthesizer retailer at the time. Tony's shop. But anyway, I just remember the number of things that had to happen in order to pull all that together, right? I mean, it's not only making the relationships, but it's also dealing with the finance. You have all of the monetary flow. You have all of the credit handling, all that kind of stuff in order to deal with that. There's all of the complexities in having a retail space. I mean, there's like 100,000 things that you have to know in order to pull it off. Where did you come up with that shit?
Well, let me bring it back to a band analogy. You know, Nova Music, certainly for what he did, is incredible at that time. Mm-hmm. And his drive, and I know Tony personally, like, very well, you know, what he put together he was a major label band. I'm this indie rock band that's not on a big label, and we're still selling 300,000 records. Yeah, he's selling 1.5 million. He's going platinum. But I'm doing amazing just selling a couple 100,000. Right. You know, I'm on Sub Pop Records. I'm this little engine that could. You know, when I switched, I mean, the company was never more than 3 to 5 people ever. Maximum. That's when I had 2 stores at one time. Mm-hmm. Big mistake both times. I don't know why I did it to myself. But by 2012, it was just me. You know, I did it. I was just doing this Eurorack thing. And I overhead, you know, to pay for those buildings, to pay for those people. You had to move a lot of gear to do that. And if you're in a major label band, the tour support and everything, like, you have to sell a lot of records to pay for tour bus and stuff. I said, screw this, we're doing a van and a trailer. Like, like this is what we're doing. And it was me. And I think, yeah, the most we ever had was, I don't believe I've ever had more than 4 people, 3 or 4 people since 2012 at any given time. And definitely for that first year and a half when I completely got out of guitars and went just synths, it was just me. That was it.
Well, that had to be a pretty brutal switch, though, because in addition to changing your whole inventory, you're actually changing your whole customer base pretty much, too.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. So, I mean, I wouldn't say I didn't have help, because I would hire people to help with, like, the website thing and, like, that marketing, but I would, and I still do, I pack orders, I'm still involved, you know, from the beginning to the end of sales. And that, yeah, there'd be people who would help, but, you know, I didn't get a manager or someone who did anywhere near what I did until my son was born in 2015. Mm-hmm. You know, because I knew, okay, now I need to take one step back because I need to now dedicate my life to being a dad.
Which makes sense right up until all of a sudden in 2018 you end up becoming an investor or owner of Buchla, which strikes me as something that's, if anything, is a bigger piece of pie than retailing and distribution combined.
Yeah, so I mean by 2016, 2017, or 2015, you know, so between 2012 and 2015, it was mainly myself, couple people in and out helping they'd be around for a few months or not. We'd call them interns at the time. But, I mean, and we didn't make a lot of money. I never paid myself really anything till my son was born. So 2015 is really when, okay, let's have 3 or 4 people, someone who's really the first line of interacting with customers and users.
Got it.
And then he's now gone off and started his own shop, because I think that's the right move, because Foxtone was, you know, 2017, 2018.
It wasn't what it was, yeah.
So the Buchla thing, I don't know if you want to jump into that now.
Yeah, let's do it.
So yeah, let's transition into that. So, you know, I've been a Buchla dealer since 2013, right, is when Foxtone came on board with that. And I was honored and lucky enough to invest into that. And
why did they, I mean, at the time they had like 7 retailers in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
How did they select you?
Because it's me.
Right. Again, I mean, you're like lucky guy. I'm trying to figure out.
Because I'm this annoying guy who's still, you know, he's annoying.
Still gets it a little.
He's annoying, but it still makes sense. That's my secret. It's like I bug them just enough, just to the edge of hating me,
right? And
then they're like, oh, but we kind of like him at the same time.
Kind of energy.
His rapier, you know, my wit or whatever. Like, he just makes me laugh, so I'll keep him around, you know. You know, and I just was able to tap in sales. You still want to be genuine, right?
Right.
So in bigger retail, you know, sometimes you don't have the luxury of vetting everybody. And I guess I always succeeded at, when I worked at Guitar Center or whatever, like I'd advance, because I was able to tap into the excitement of the person I was talking to. And it is genuine. Like, I get excited about, I really do get excited for that customer, like that they're excited about this new endeavor. And this is, especially with synthesis now and the more expensive product, it's a big commitment. So, while what they get or do is not exactly what I personally would do for myself, I'm able to figure out how to relate to that person and really make it, and really I feed off of their energy. And I'm like, okay, I get what you're trying to do with this, and this is how it's really cool. And I think that also worked when I wanted to be a dealer, where I'm like, wow, I get what you're doing. And they're like, I figured out how to connect, with whoever.
You could attach yourself to their enthusiasm, which
absolutely.
is
I live vicariously
in a genuine way.
Well, I get to live vicariously through them.
Right.
This is going to sound odd, but I've said it before publicly. Like, I am not a synth guy. I'm a production. I love engineering. I love guitars. I enjoy drumming. I enjoy synthesis, but I wouldn't say that I'm a synth guy by any means. I get to live vicariously through others. I can talk much more technical as far as designing an instrument from it in a modular sense. I'm better at talking tech about guitar amps and guitars than I am about talking technically on how to put together the optimal modular instrument. But I do that also on purpose because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I've eliminated the rules for myself because if I am too married to the product like Buchla, if I'm too into it, if I'm like, I'm a Buchla guy and I'm Buchla this and Buchla that, and if it's not Buchla, it's crap. If I do that, then I'm aware that there are these rules and I have to do it this way. So I actually purposefully try and be disconnected a little bit so I can look at it from more of a long view standpoint.
So one of the dangers of that, though, is that you can find yourself making decisions based on business rather than maybe the long-term best interest of the instrument or the customer base and stuff. What do you use as an anchor to just say, oh, but this is a Buchla and these are the things I have to remain aware of, and this is sort of like the Buchla whispering that you listen to,
sure,
to help make it not. I mean, because you're not selling garage doors.
Here's where I'll push back a little bit on you on a business decision can be focused on customers. Mm-hmm. So I'm here. Everything I've done and everything I've instilled in anyone who's worked in sales and stuff with me, we're here to make customers, not sales. Screw sales. Sales are dumb. That's the quick in and out. So, like, give me your money, move on.
That is short-term thinking.
Absolutely. Right. This is very much long-term thinking where we do need to, it's not as simple as I make it sound, where I just don't know anything. I mean, that's not true. I mean, I know gear, like I know what an envelope is. I know an oscillator, like it's signal flow. That's where the engineer, the recording engineer in me comes in, where I'm like, this is signal flow.
Speaks to you, right?
That's duh. I mean, it's not. Get it? I get it. But where I really tap into the spirit of where we came from, our heritage as a company, is me being connected with those that were closest to Don Buchla and are still around. So Todd Barton, Martin Sabatnik, Suzanne Ciani. Our lead designer is Don's right-hand man, with Joel DeVal. Has been there. Don hired him in 1993, to do the hardware layouts. So we've got the closest thing there is to Don Buchla as our lead designer. The company decisions I make, I don't do anything creative without consulting people who were there and people that were part of it. I'm not Buchla. I don't have a specific agenda, but my job is to make sure the company can exist. I feel that I am a curator for the artwork that was started by Don Buchla. It certainly needs to continue, and how do you keep one foot in the past and one foot in the future is a difficult thing, and ultimately I have to make that decision. But from the business standpoint is this viable, like, are we gonna be screwed here? But also if you get into the purists, and I don't have Facebook, I don't have Instagram, I have none of that. I don't have social media. You'll never find me there. I'm not there. If something really is actually important that someone says randomly online, it will be brought to my attention by other people that I pay to do that, to bring it to me. So when dealing with purists or whatever, who are like, well, it can only be done this way, and Don Buchla never would have. A person who did work for Don and gives amazing constructive criticism to me. He and I were talking about revisiting like reissues and stuff, and he told me like he understood, but he was like, don't stop doing the weird stuff. Mm-hmm. And my reaction was, of course not. Sometimes we make this Tiptop decision or whatever, it enables us to get weird. I can't only do weird, it's too risky. There are employees' lives, their livelihoods are at risk. And one of the proudest things I am have nothing to do with the product directly that we released. It's, for the first time in Buchla history, everyone's on salary and has health care benefits. That was brand new in 2021. That had never happened before. So it's taken me this long to get to this point. I'm very proud of that, to be able to offer benefits to people. We're not Google, we're not Apple, we're not making crazy money. We're a very tiny company. But just to be able to treat the employees fairly and give them a living wage and, what they deserve, which is a safety net with healthcare benefits that we help provide, is one of the proudest achievements I've had to date.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Now, what was originally the 200E series was very much kind of a bespoke system, right? If you wanted a 200E system, you bought a bunch of 200E stuff from Buchla, but now it's become more of a environment or an ecosystem, right? You have some third parties that build for the format. You have people who are still doing kind of clones of the old 200 systems, but you kind of now are sort of like the manager of an ecosystem.
I don't want to be. And Buchla, this will be on the record, totally. Buchla is a brand, not a format. If you say Buchla's a format, not that you didn't use those terms.
No, but I appreciate you clarifying for me.
But, what about, we want to get more into controllers and stuff. What about Lightning? What about Thunder? What about, all these other amazing, Marimba Lumina? Mm-hmm. Buchla's not a for you format with this power thing. Buchla makes instruments.
It's a design language almost.
Absolutely. And while people are welcome to do their own thing, kind of, we're not catering to them. We make Buchla instruments. That's not to say there aren't brilliant people out there who do very clever things that help even improve, potentially, a Buchla instrument. But it's... there's very few have gotten it. There's only a couple that have been able to do that. Because of our bus system, it wreaks havoc. And the issue I have with it is when those people don't talk with us and make sure their specs are right. there are some products out there that have come out that they're out of spec. So then it makes us look bad. And so I push back on anyone planning on doing an E stuff that uses our bus, that attempts to use it, to at least ask us to make sure, your voltages are correct.
Right.
So really trying to change that, but I wouldn't say there's a lot of 200E. It's
more just like I guess really, if I talk about format, it's like 4U, the Buchla 4U format.
Right, but we will never guarantee our stuff to work on someone else's power. We will never guarantee our stuff to work with any other device. So I will be the wrong person, and I will directly refuse to be, we're not Eurorack. We make Buchla stuff. Someone else that wants to make something that attempts to plug in with it, the burden is on them to do that. They're welcome if they want to talk to us and ask us, and we might, if they're respectful, we might, point them in the right direction. But, it's okay. I like I said, I do believe actually there are some clever designs that I really appreciate, but there are some designs that I think are actually kind of they're not good. So I'm not going to name either. Buchla is only guaranteed to work with Buchla products or our official partners if we say, hey, this is a thing that we sign off on.
I just made the horrible mistake of looking at the clock, and I realized that our time is already up. Damn, I swear I have like 45 more questions.
You can cut a few things and jump in if you want.
Well, let me ask one wrap up though here. I'm sure that there's nifty stuff on the bench. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you can tell us about that might be near future enough that you'd be able to talk about it?
Well, we have yet to officially announce the Easel, even though we showed it. That was just a sneak peek, so I'm still not officially announcing it here.
Very cool what you've done there, too.
Yeah.
I think it's fabulous.
Yeah, we're really proud of that. Nothing that can be shared right now. We're still not abandoning a 200 reissue. We still think that's still something that's
still viable, yeah.
Important. That's separate from the Tiptop thing. That's I'll leave that. Right. That's its own thing. But with that being said, though, 200E is still our flagship and the most important. We do want to get back more into other interactive devices, but just trying to deal with production woes and wrap our head around, can we get all the parts we need and stuff to continue with the products we do have. I just, it's been tough during, now this year has just been tough with parts and everything. Sure. So that's consumed way more of our resources than we thought it should. So that's hindered us from being as creative as we would like to be. But definitely excited for the full Easel to come out, and then making sure we've got some complementary accessories to that. And that is something that, I think I'm open to third-party accessories existing for that and having an official thing. Because we don't have time to do everything, right. So if people can make things that complement what we do, it's good for us as well.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much for having this chat. It was really great catching up with you. We will have to get together again soon for the other 150 questions that I have remaining. But in the meantime, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to Eric for the chance to get a chat, to get to learn a little bit more about him and to learn a little bit more about where he's going to be taking Buchla in the future. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop me a line, ddg@cycling74.com or darwin.gross@gmail.com or ddg@20objects.com. All of those will get to me. I want to also thank all the people who are patrons supporting this podcast through patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Darwin Gross. If you have an opportunity, please jump over there and check out some of the free articles that I have. And if you're able, please do support with your patronage. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next time around. Goodbye.